Today, we're going to look at getting past the gatekeeper. So if you do cold calling, have you ever experienced this? An overzealous gatekeeper who is essentially like a scene out of The Lord of the Rings.
You shall not pass!
Alright, that was a little bit overdramatic, but more often than not, we have been pipped at the post by the gatekeeper who won't let you any further. You want to be able to talk to the decision maker. You want to be able to sell your awesome services into the business, but that person at the very beginning of that chain is stopping you. In this video, I'm going to share with you our strategies for getting the gatekeeper on your side, getting them to do the introduction, and having them help you sell into the business. Hey, my name is Lee Matthew Jackson. I'm the host of the Trailblazer FM podcast, and I'm proud to be a Cloudways Maverick. Today, let's look at getting the gatekeeper on your side and have them advocating for you. When we first started out as an agency, cold calling was essential for us to generate new leads. We would find we were so often denied by the very first person who would pick up the phone. This was more often than not the reception desk, and they would reject us or ask us to send an email. Essentially, we'd get nowhere, we'd hit a brick wall. As a result, we weren't generating that many leads, and any of the leads we were generating, we weren't closing very many. This in turn was ridiculously demotivating. And the most frustrating part of this was the decision maker didn't even know we existed. Fast forward to today, our agency has 6 steps we engage with to get the gatekeeper on our side. Now we get to have open conversations, and the gatekeeper drops their defenses. We generate more leads, we close more sales, we feel empowered, and, of course, wonderfully, the key decision makers know who we are, finally. So let's take you through the 6 stages. Number 1 is to identify the right gatekeeper. Hitting the phones and getting the main reception desk is not necessarily the right strategy. If you think of who you want to eventually talk to, that would be the key decision maker. Say that's going to be the CEO of the company or the head of marketing. It's going to be hard to get through to them, and calling the main reception desk is probably the worst idea. Who can you identify within the business that may work alongside that marketing director or that CEO? More specifically, who will have a vested interest in what it is you will have to say to that marketing director, to that CEO. For us in the events industry, we want to speak to the head of marketing, but we'll be able to connect with marketing coordinators instead as our de facto gatekeepers. It's easier for us to get through to them and to have a conversation with them first before being introduced to the decision makers. Step 2 is to connect before you call. Once you have established who the gatekeeper or the influencer is gonna be, connect with them on social media. We tend to do that through LinkedIn. This at least means when you call, you're not a complete stranger and the call isn't quite as cold. Step 3 is to develop rapport. Again, before you call, if you can spend some time on social media, checking out what they've posted and contributing something, having those conversations, those engagements online with them. You can also do this outside of social media if you know they go to specific networking events. One of our key strategies is to go to networking events and get to know that gatekeeper, that influencer in person. Step 4 is to seek their input. We should have identified the gatekeeper, the influencer, who has a vested interest in what it is you need to talk with the main decision maker about. The person at the reception desk will not understand the marketing strategies. You should have identified somebody within the marketing team who has thoughts, who has opinions, who thinks things may be better done a different way within their marketing department. Unfortunately, they are not in charge of marketing. The decision maker is. but they can at least influence that. So seek their input on what it is you have to offer. Maybe ask them questions on how they feel X, Y, and Z should work within their business, or their thoughts on your products or your strategies. People love to give their input. They love to share their opinions, and they love to feel valued. And I'd say this, do it genuinely. Don't be disingenuous. Actually listen to their input, because that could, in the long run, affect how you sell in the future and the products and services you have to offer in the future. As agency owners, a lot of the time it's guesswork, isn't it? Trying to work out what it is our clients want. These are really important conversations that we can have. Step 5 is to get their support. Once you've had these conversations, ask them who they believe you should connect to within the business to start moving things forward, to have these conversations at a wider level, and to see how you may be able to help affect change within that company. Through this process, you've developed rapport with the gatekeeper or influencer, you've asked for their input, you've had great conversations. They can now tell you who would be best to get that ball rolling, and they will be able to advocate for you. You folks now have a relationship, which leads us to step 6, which is to ask for the introduction. This is the point where your gatekeeper, your influencer, is going to make that all-important introduction to the key decision maker. They do this with a background of having had important conversations with you about what it is you have to offer, and also the problems that they believe need to be solved within the business. Now, you may think I've completely oversimplified this process, and to be honest, yes, because it needs to fit into 6 bullet points. Honestly, sales calls to me are still scary. I don't get this right all the time. I don't necessarily find the right gatekeeper. Based on my research, I still sometimes get rejection. This is a difficult process, but by having this framework, I can be more intentional about what I do. Instead of grabbing the yellow pages and calling through a whole load of numbers and just getting rejection upon rejection and playing the numbers game and getting demotivated, I'm being more strategic about how I connect with the business. I'm increasing my chances of developing a relationship with that gatekeeper, getting them on side, and then getting the right introduction into the business to those key decision makers. Do you still do any cold calling in this day and age, or are you fully into paid ads? Let us know in the comments below how you generate leads. If you do cold calling, let us know what your strategies are for getting past the gatekeeper. Whilst you're there, don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell notification icon. In the description, there is a link to our free agency resource pack full of awesome goodness, SOPs, documentation to help you skyrocket your agency. Folks, if we don't see you down below in the comments, why don't we see you in the next episode?